Welcome to knowledgeformen.com, where you're going to grow into the man you want to be. Your life will never be the same again. I can guarantee it. Hey guys, haven't shared it too many times, but one of the biggest epiphanies that I've ever had in my life was the first day that I started reading personal development, entrepreneurship, business books. And the day that I started reading those books, that was the day when my life changed. And ever since then, I've never stopped. So I've compiled the top 30 books and also the top 30 success quotes that every man must live by in a simple guide. You can download it for free at kfmfree.com. Again, that's kfmfree.com to really start growing in every aspect of your life. All right. Unless you're listening to the voice of Ish, raw and real, deep and without pretension, singing about what he knows and what he has lived. Ish who lives in the moment, Ish who knows the poverty, Ish who dreams, Ish who will give the shirt off his back to a stranger, Ish who can't find what's good in anybody. Ish is a part of the songwriting singing duo of William Pilgrim and the All Grows Up, whose music blends country-soaked Americana and late 60s soul. The other part of the duo is Phillip Romero. He's the pensive social activist and bookworm. Like Don Quixote, he's comfortable chasing windmills as he nudges society towards change. Quote, "We need to learn to value the least of us if we hope to save the most important of evolutionary flukes, our humanity," Philip explains. Together they fight the same fight. Philip for the legacy of his generation and Ish for the validation of his existence. They're songwriters of social change through a medium that connects with everyone. It's musical activism. Through their music, they hope to challenge people, and by their actions, they hope to bring people together to make a difference. Well, guys, I'm here with Phillip Romero and Ish from William Pilgrim and the All Grows Up. How are you guys doing listening to that?
Doing good. Hello, everyone.
Thanks for having us on the show.
So I got both of them here, Ishmael and Phillip, and so this is going to make for an exciting show. We got a trio here on the Knowledge for Men show, so let's dive in. As always, guys, we start off each show with a favorite success quote of the guest or a saying that they've lived by, and then just go ahead and explain why you chose that, what it means to you.
I'm going to actually turn this one over to Ish because he actually gave such a fantastic one about a week ago about not stopping before the miracle. You have to give him that.
Yeah, pretty much. One of my little simple beliefs is just don't give up before the miracle happens. Pretty much. And another good one I always think of and use is if I stay ready, I won't have to get ready.
Yeah, I like that. And so how has that helped you on your journey?
You know, I guess to me it just speaks to a determination. It's made me really, really strong-willed. I've kind of realized that the desire and passion for this kind of thing, it's really, you're beyond married to it. So you got to be just, I'm determined and willing to do anything.
Yeah, and I think that kind of gives us a little taste of the struggle that you've had in climbing and overcoming the challenges that you've had on your journey. So I'm excited for what we have here. I've done some reading, watched some videos before, so I know that we're in for a treat with you guys. So go ahead and share with us how you guys got started with what you do, just the story of your band and how you guys came together.
Yeah, well, I was coming off another band, and I was taking a break, and I was in Hollywood, and I was really at my lowest of lows. I had no money. I had been living on the street for at least a handful of years at that point, but the artist was still there. And one day I just kind of woke up and I heard a song on the radio called Not Afraid. And the whole point of this Not Afraid song was just was about handling your business. And so, you know what? I posted an ad on Craigslist saying, hey, for about $100, I'll come into your studio for one day or for one long session and sing for as long as you need me to be. And I got really excited. I waited, and then nobody hit me up.
Oh, man, I couldn't imagine. Jeez.
Yeah, and about a month later, I had already moved on and kind of gotten back into the routine of a street kid and was just kind of meandering around when Phil hit me up. And I got an email from Phil saying that he had assembled a bunch of musicians who were at the top of their game, and he wanted to give me a shot. So I went out to Orange County and I met up with these guys, and what was supposed to be a demo session turned into like this full on band. And through our efforts, we've managed use our story to bring relief and hope to some troubled youth out there. And we just try to inspire as activists slash musicians these days. And I guess that's us in a nutshell.
Wow. So you said you were living on the streets for a couple of years.
Yeah.
That's, how do you overcome those kind of circumstances to get to where you are now? Like, what kept you going in that situation?
I think it's just it's gonna sound cheesy, but simply a dream and like a willingness just not to give up. And like matter of fact, it was like the worse it got, it was like the higher I held my head, like just bring it on, I'm gonna take it all, because I knew that it was this kind of determination and that kind of sacrifice that is required to reach any substance if you were in my position.
Yeah, that's just music to my ears, Ish. That's what this is all about, is just overcoming those kind of challenges, those kind of struggles. And, you're in an extreme dire situation, and just the ability to have that dream in front of you and to persist against all odds. That's music to my ears. And now, Phillip, let's go into kind of your story. Like, how did you get started with what you were doing before you started this band?
My whole thing is I try to use music as a means to influence and make a difference out there. So when I heard Ish's voice, I got excited saying, wow, this is incredible. So I reached out to him from that ad, and then he didn't call me back.
He's like, I got places to be, man.
Exactly. He had moved on. And so we kind of were exchanging non-answered emails for a while, and then finally we hooked up. He came to the studio, and I don't know that either of us held out any hope that this would become anything. And from the moment that we got together, just musically it clicked. And it's been about 3 years now, and we've made just some great music together.
All right, so it sounds like Ishmael's playing hard to get here on the Craigslist.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, sometimes you got to play hard to get what you want. All right, so Phillip, when Ish finally responded to you and you guys met up, it sounded like in Orange County. What was it about him that made you think, this is him, this is the guy that we're looking for? What was that moment like for you?
I've said this before, he sings with the passion of a 1,000-year-old man. In his voice, he's got pain from experience, but he also has an optimism that's in there. And it's, I think, the contrast between those two very opposites that really stand out in his voice.
Yeah, let's actually just hear a track of him singing right now. I'm going to throw a song on.
From top to bottom, girl, you know you got a soda. It's gotta be you and me together, so enough. Then I see you with him, and how he treats you so good. And it hurts to know he loves you so, and he's twice the man I'll ever be. I wanna know how it feels. I love the way you light up whenever he's around you. Do you know how it feels? You're having such a good time now that I'm not there.
All right, so there it is. You can hear the band right there, and that was from the song How It Feels. So let's now dive back into the interview now, and I want to touch on some of the challenges. What were some of the challenges that you guys have experienced in starting this band, and how have you guys overcome these challenges?
It's kind of like, sometimes it feels like we're just kind of like small minnows going up against this huge, gigantic whale that has become like the music industry. And unfortunately, from my perspective, when I was coming up as a musician, there was a bit more predictability in the path that you would take as a musician. It was a bit more cut and dry. So now me and Phil live in an age to where there are no longer any rules, and there's no longer one clear path to roam. So it's just like, for us, it's been trying to figure out where our voice is, find our niche, and then have our base and just do our best to have a voice and affect people. That's my thought.
Yeah, you guys sound really passionate about the work that you do, which I love. I absolutely love. And so, I want to know, what do you love most about making music? Like, how does your music impact you?
I like the fact that it gives me the opportunity to have life beyond this existence that I have right now. I like the opportunity that I could, that I myself can founder all day, but our music is still gonna reach people and affect people. I like the idea that it can have a life beyond us, regardless of what we do. I think that's the coolest thing for me. It's like touching forever, kind of.
I really like that. And Philip, what are your thoughts on this?
I'm just one of those guys that has been blessed or cursed with the need to be creative. So if it wasn't this, I'd be painting something or building something. So it's kind of like what I do. I love music. I love the craft of a song. And as Ish says, if it has the ability to inspire or resonate with someone else, that's just icing on the cake.
You guys just sound so artistic. I love it. I feel like creating something right now. Well, with that passion and love for the arts comes that resistance to creating. This is like the dark side. This is like the other side of, we're going on the opposite side here. But it's like where you want to create, but you just can't get it out. It's on the tip of your tongue. You can't get it out, or you can't do the work because there's other things that are blocking you from actually creating. So how do you overcome that resistance that often artists, entrepreneurs face?
I think that all artists throughout time have always been conflicted, and I think that conflict comes from wanting to take something out of your head, this idea, and actually make it real in this world. And I think sometimes that the difference between what you have in your head and what you're actually able to create and have material is always a disconnect. So I think that is something that makes artists troubled throughout time.
Absolutely. And Ishmael, thoughts?
Me personally, I think there are some days to where like I'm just like that. The words are on my tongue and I have the feeling and I know what I'm going for. And I just kind of have to reach a point to where like, if I don't have it at that point, I just kind of have to step away and be like, you know what? I've stumbled upon something really, really cool right now. I'm going to put this on the shelf, might come back to it because some more inspiration will hit me again. And now I'll be able to finish it. Or in a situation where I'm working with Phil and it's two people trying to be one brain to get a song down, then I'm more compelled to do whatever it takes and like wrestle that song to the ground if I have to.
Kick it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beat it up.
And get it done. Yeah. So sometimes it's good to wrestle with it. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you just walk away.
Yeah, just kind of waiting for that flow to come back to you and then hit it then when you're at your best. Well, with art or anytime you're creating something that is your passion, it's like you're putting your life energy into this music. It's different than if you're just, creating something that you don't even care about and you're just, you're selling it, whatever. How do you deal with the opinions of other people when you're sharing your art, your passion with other people?
Well, as songwriters, as opposed to other forms of art, you are actually using words. So words can be interpreted many different ways. So as songwriters, we're always challenged how to make a statement, but without effectively wagging your finger at people, because that's a big turnoff. So that's kind of the balance that we try to seek with the songs that we write. I got to go back with what Ish says. Don't quit before the miracle happens.
Yeah.
And has there ever been a moment when you guys are writing or creating your work where you're like, wait, we might have to do that?
Well, like 5 minutes before this interview. No, I mean, there's always a challenge. I mean, anytime you're putting yourself out there and you don't have that overwhelming, parades in the street and statues erected in the Central Park, to you, you always feel a little bit like, well, why are we doing this for? But, ultimately we have to go back to that need to create. But, I think that's another thing that we have to deal with.
Yeah. I'll try to keep this brief, but I posed kind of the same question to Lawrence Fishburne like about a few years ago. He did like this one-man play called Thurgood. And after the play, he stuck around and did like this Q&A. And I was in the audience, and he was cool enough to pick me when I raised my hand. And when he picked me, I was like, what does it take of someone to get to where you're at, to get to where your level of success or notoriety? And he put it to me in a way that have never been put to me before like this. What Lawrence Fishburne told me was, he said is that the same kind of drive and sacrifice and determination that it took for folks to get through, say, the civil rights movement or whatever. He says, if you have it in you to face something like that, he says it's that kind of drive and that kind of determination that gets you to the top. So to me, I interpret it as just a willingness to just keep going to hell and back and just keep going there. Go to hell 1,000 times if you have to, because one time it's going to be worth it.
Yeah, wow. You just got to, take some time to reflect on that. That's really powerful. And it's coming from, you said Lawrence Fishburne, he was in The Matrix, so he was Morpheus.
Yeah,
so,
it's Morpheus.
That's got to be some good stuff there.
Yeah, got to be some good stuff.
Red pill or blue pill, my man.
Yeah, my favorite movie of all times, by the way.
Yeah, right. And now looking back at the creation of your guys' band, what have you guys learned from each other?
Me personally, I think it's adaptability. Being able to adapt to the waves that come along and knowing how to reposition and rebuild the machine at the drop of a dime if we have to. Just knowing how to. That's what I've learned from Phil, is just how to accept what comes along and reassess and keep moving according to what's happening, I guess, as a businessman, as a musician, as a person, and as a human being.
And for me, Ish has taught me to sometimes don't worry about saving the world and just have a good time.
Yeah, that's always good too. And sometimes art, something that you're really passionate about, anything that you just so desperately love doing, can sometimes just take over your life. And how do you guys find that balance between creating and being artistic and living your passion versus, having that personal life? Like, how do you find where do you draw the line?
For me, I don't see a separation. Maybe that's an unfortunate byproduct, but, whether you're at lunch, walking, doing just the most mundane type of things, I'm always looking at things from different angles to see what can come from it. I think as artists, one of the critical things that we have is an eye that may be a little different than other people. We can look at something that everyone else stares at every day and maybe, look at it a new way or, describe it in a new way. So I don't necessarily see a separation.
Huh. That's good. So like blurring the line between work and play.
Yeah, I think as long as you still like it, as long as there's still some admiration for it, it's like you'll always make room for work or play or vice or versa, and me being in a situation to where I have a music career, but I also have a career outside of that as a technician of sorts, it requires me to go into two different mindsets. There's the guy that puts things together and is really technical, and then there's the other guy who feels like he's Superman, who sings and does all these awesome songs. So for me, I do kind of have to separate the two, but I see what Phil is talking about.
Yeah.
That's the yin and yang between us.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, I have something called the knowledge round. I'm going to ask you guys some rapid fire questions here. So got to ask you, are you both ready for the knowledge round?
I hope so.
I guess as ready as we can be.
If you want to grow to the highest levels that you've ever been at in your life, go to kfmfree.com and you can download the top 30 books and success quotes that every man must live by. Every guy should read. If you want to grow, if you want to achieve greatness in life, you're going to have to read and surround yourself with the greatest minds of the world. So I've done all of the hard work for you. I've read hundreds of books. I've listened to hundreds of audiobooks. I've gone through and found the best quotes that you'll need to succeed and thrive and grow and become the man that you want to be. So go to kfmfree.com and I'll send it to you right now. kfmfree.com. Welcome to the Knowledge Round, where the guests will be asked rapid-fire questions to give the audience invaluable pieces of wisdom to help transform their lives. Starting in 3, 2, 1, showtime. All right, guys, and first question for both of you, we'll just take turns answering, is what advice would you give to someone who's feeling kind of lost or unsure of what they should do with their life?
Stop, sit down, make a plan.
All right, and Phil?
I think that look at things outside of yourself. I think a lot of times we get bogged down internally, and I think you have to kind of step outside and kind of see what's really going on before you can actually even make that plan.
Yeah, good stuff there. And what was holding you back from becoming the man you are now today?
Fear and doubt.
And for me, it would be not enough time in the day.
And how have you guys overcome those challenges?
I would say ambition and hard work.
Yeah, and I would parrot that by saying just getting up earlier and staying up later.
All right. And have any of you guys had a mentor on your journey that has helped you? And if so, can you guys share a specific moment that you guys had that was really impactful for both of you?
I'll go first with that one. The people that have actually made the most impact in my life are the ones who didn't do what I would do. They're the cautionary tales. I won't mention names, but you witness other people's mistakes and you kind of take mental note by saying, okay, cause and effect, don't want to do that. So I think that sometimes is the best life lesson, because you don't necessarily have to go through it, but you can watch others and what happens.
Yeah, I like that. And Ishmael?
Yeah, there was a guy I knew when I was a kid. He was kind of a mentor, and he was the first person that told me to take it one day at a time. And he also said that he said in this life, all you ever need is one friend to really get through it.
Yeah, the power of one friend can really be powerful, can it? Now, what are you guys' 3 most influential books and why?
Yeah, Ish is saying that's you.
I read fiction.
I'm the big reader.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think actually fiction is probably the best way to extract meaning out of life. I think that fiction writers probably do a much better job than nonfiction writers. But favorite books would be Native Son by Richard Wright, Slaughterhouse-Five, Kurt Vonnegut. And if I was to pick one other one, I would have to go with, that's a tough one. Go with Catch-22, Heller.
All right, good books there. And Ishmael?
Let me see. I think Mice of Men is pretty cool as far as the moral capacity it has in that book. And this is going to sound weird, but the first Harry Potter is also really good. And I read, oh my God. Oh yeah, Thomas Carlyle, Heroes and Hero Worship. The first chapter of that is pretty amazing.
Yeah, and can you elaborate on that? Like, what makes it so amazing?
It's just defining how people as a mass have a need for heroes, and it kind of defines almost how you can take that form and be that hero. And if you can kind of fulfill this image, then you can really kind of get the masses behind you.
Yeah, it's like completing your hero's journey, and others really respect the fact that you've gone through your journey, and so they respect you. Now, what are 2 or 3 life skills that you need in order to succeed in your field?
I think first would be empathy. Going back to that whole not wagging your finger at people. If you can't relate to people, if you can't empathize with them in what we do, it's kind of very hard to motivate or inspire them. So that would be the first thing. Ish, you want to give a second?
I hate to say it, but I think as a musician, I guess to get where I want to go, or where y'all were going, it's called it. You got to have something about you that really, really makes you stand out. And this can simply be even just the way you talk to people, the way you answer questions. I figure what's really, really worked for me is that I've tried to just be, it's going to sound cheesy, but being nice, polite, and charming will kind of get you further than you think.
That's for sure.
Yeah, I think it's just sometimes such a simple skill, yet often, overlooked.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Now, scenario here for you guys both. Now, imagine you had 60 seconds with your 20-year-old self. What would you tell him to do, and what would you tell him not to do?
I would tell him to take that $10,000 that he has, put it in the bank, and go to Berkeley. Oh, and keep working at the theater. Don't quit a few weeks from now.
And what would you tell him not to do?
Well, I tell him not to do. I would tell him not to hang out with so many druggies.
Yeah, common not to here. It's either drugs, alcohol, or a girl or something.
It's a common.
And Philip.
So I'm talking to my 20-year-old self. I would tell him, love deep, be kind.
Yeah, simple. And what would you tell him not to do?
Find or strike that balance between not taking things too seriously and taking things seriously. I think if you lean too far in either direction, it's not a path. So finding that balance is key. So that would be what I would tell not to do. Go into one direction or the other too far.
All right. I like that. Respect that as well. And now, do you guys know of an underrated characteristic that if every person would work on this, they could see massive results in their life?
You, you know what? Listening, talking less. The less you talk, the more you hear, the more you learn, the more you'll catch. Like, cause me, I talk a lot, but there's been a few times where I've said, you know what, for the next couple of days, I'm gonna talk a little less and I'm gonna listen a bit more. And like you'll have just epiphanies just by shutting up.
Yeah, nice. Very powerful. And Philip?
I would say that having faith and belief are not necessarily a good thing. I think that sometimes that erects a boundary between understanding. So it's limiting, as Ish says. So, I think that we're all ingrained to think that having faith and belief in things is a good thing. But as I go back to that balance thing, I think having too much of that is not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah, this is a really interesting topic. Can you elaborate a little bit deeper on this?
I think that we make a lot of decisions not necessarily based on what's real or what's happening, but how we already predetermine things to be. So as opposed to seeking truth, I think that what we do is we seek out facts that already validate the beliefs that we have.
So what would be an example of this?
Oh, we can go into politics all day long, but let's just look at foreign policy, the whole idea of what we do and the whole concept of right and wrong, or having an understanding of history that is 5 minutes long. So I think that, look at foreign policy, of our government, our country, and I think that it's very short-sighted.
Yeah, I think you really bring up a good point there and just kind of raise a really good question for a lot of people to think about. Now, let's just kind of look back at your guys' lives and reflect back on some of the challenges that you've overcome to where you are now. What would you say is your philosophy on life and success?
You know what? Go as hard as you can while you can, because someday you won't be able to, and just appreciate the things that do happen for you. And if anything doesn't happen for you, don't think about it too much, but just overall, whether just as a human being, life is a gift, and live it as hard and as best as you can every day, every day.
Man, I love that. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling great right now.
Yeah.
And Philip?
I would say that true success is making the world a better place. I think the idea of being an individual and acting accordingly only goes so far. But if your actions can actually do something for your community, the world at large, or just something outside of yourself, I think that in going that direction, you end up finding that success that is so hard to find if you're only doing it for yourself.
Yeah, so sounds like finding something and pursuing something that's higher than yourself, something that's greater than yourself. And in that process, you're going to find more happiness and success and impact more people. I mean, I'm all about that. So, it's great. This is great. So, that's going to conclude the knowledge on there. So, I'm interested in what are you guys working on now? Like, what's the future look like for you guys?
I'm going to say yesterday I was shocked, but it was marriage equality that really moved me yesterday. I thought it was really cool that our what is it, the Supreme Court? Yeah. I thought it was really cool that the Supreme Court can stand up and show the people that no matter how divided our politics are, every once in a while, we can get the right thing done and we can move society forward as a whole, Obama gave his thoughts on gay marriage like sometime like last year, and I heard him say that anytime you expand the rights of people, you're moving society forward. So to me, here lately, that's been my kick.
Yeah, and I actually agree wholeheartedly, and it's coincidentally on the same day that we're releasing a video for our second song called How It Feels, and it's being released today. And the concept of that video and that song is all about love is love, and we deal with that issue about equality in that video. So it just kind of coincides with what was also happening out this week in the larger context of equality.
Yeah, and I know you guys are a living example of this because you guys help at-risk youth in your community. Can you elaborate on this?
One of the things that we created through our music is a program called Right Off the Street. And what we do is we work with at-risk kids and homeless youth in Los Angeles through a couple shelters out there. And what we're trying to do is teach them how music can be a way to express themselves. A lot of these kids have a lot of things bottled up inside, and music is a way to be able to get that out and to also show that they actually have a voice in this world. So we teach them songwriting skills, guitar, various other means, and that's probably our highlight, our program that we work with.
That is really just so cool. And how can my audience follow up with you guys moving forward?
Well, the new video and everything William Pilgrim starts at liveicehouse.com or williampilgrim.com. And through there, you can catch up on our music, our videos, and what we're doing out there in the community.
All right, there it is. Ishmael and Phillip, thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing your time and being vulnerable here on my show and sharing some of your, greatest life lessons here with my community.
Oh, thank you, man.
Thanks for having us.
All right, and that's going to wrap up episode 118 with Phillip and Ishmael from William Pilgrim and The All Grows Up. And let's just end it with one of their new hit songs here called How It Feels.